Akamai. Karthik brings his unique experience across fast-growing startups to this discussion. Mr. Rajesh Kumar. Rajesh is currently CMO India and South Asia for UiPath. Prior to this, he was working with companies like SAP, Microsoft, HCL, Perfetti, and Pernod. He has closely seen the evolution of marketing in the tech industry of Asia Pacific over the last 2 decades. And finally, we have Mr. Vikram Tanna. He is the CEO of Mazalo. He has built and managed digital gaming, broadcast, and music businesses with curiosity and strategic creativity. Vikram has designed valuable user brand.
Chaitanya. My agenda for today and in the next 40 minutes, hopefully I'll be able to learn myself and hopefully I'll be able to kind of help extract probably from Aman and Chaitanya and Anita that what are some of the great things that they have done for their own brand to bring about and make such a large brand in last just few years. While we all, I mean, there are brands that have been struggling for hundreds of years to get to the numbers that they have probably reached, but they have done something great. So I think throughout this session, my idea will be to kind of pick notes from them and pick learnings from them, and hopefully we all can apply back to our businesses, learnings, etc. So welcome all.
Thank you.
Let me tell you, both Aman and Chaitanya have built 500 crore plus businesses in the last 3 to 4 years or 3 to 5 years of their working, which has been amazing in terms of what they have done to the brands that probably have been established for years. So let me start by you, Aman. I think we all, I have, whenever I have traveled, I've seen a lot of people wearing boat headphones. So congratulations. Tell me what's been the secret? I mean, and maybe a quick 1 minute story of how did you get this idea and how did you start it?
Thanks, Manish. Hi, everyone. Yeah, Manish, good to see that, people were traveling and, that itself brings in some nostalgia. Wow, people were traveling, suddenly I'm missing all that. But yes, there are those, I call those guys who wear boat, who are engaged with boat, who love boat, who buy boat. Those are boat heads. And that's the community of people who built us. Those are the guys who made us who we are, right? Coming back to your question, that the brand was not built is like today the brands can be built only by the right product and the right community. That's what I believe in. If your product is not good, people will talk about it in 100 other places. Gone are those days when you used to market the product and the brand and it used to get sold. Today you need to have the right product because everybody is talking to each other. There are so many connected ways people are talking to each other. They are on Quora, they are on Amazon, they're on Flipkart, they're on Google, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They're all talking to each other. There's so many reviews which come out of the product. So you cannot sell a bad product anymore. So the product inherently has to be right. Added up with marketing, added up with right pricing, added up with the right infrastructure, and I think that's been our story. I would say God has been kind. We've done well, and there's too much to be done still.
Sure. Let me try and ask a supplementary question from Chaitanya. Chaitanya is, and of course, this topic is more about innovation and storytelling, and I'll come to that. What did the, and again, hindsight is 2020, but if you were to say, what did the erstwhile old age brands didn't do, or didn't pick that opportunity? Is it the fact that they didn't understand digital retailing? And you guys, both you, Aman, kind of found out that as an opportunity and then rode on that wave. Is that the thing, or you really marketed your products very differently and spoke to the new age very differently? And that will probably bring me about to how you guys did it differently. But or was it a combination of all the reasons?
Well, I think completely resonate with what Aman said. Marketing can ultimately only push forward a good product. So great marketing, packaging a shitty product is still unfortunately shitty. So you need to get the product right. And for us, that itself was a big enabler. And for us, digital was not a medium to connect with them just for sales. It was everything, whether for messaging, whether for selling, whether for post sales, every single thing happened through digital. So we were digitally native and we were born here. And that really, really helped us in us thinking and understanding this customer base. And if I had to say one thing that probably the consultants missed out, it would probably be that the customers were seeking something else, and the innovation had stopped many decades ago. And when a lot of these external factors came into play, which is deep internet penetration suddenly from 2016 when Geo happened. Secondly, people talking to each other quite openly. If you notice, till about 10, 15 years ago, the only way brands were built was through lot of ATL spending, 50s and 50, 100 crores. That's how you build brands. 10, 15 years ago, it got restricted to Google and Facebook. And now, if you see, like Aman said, people are talking and sharing across hundreds of platforms. So digital cannot be just one way or one method or one platform. So that omnipresence of that is what need to be tapped. It's both a boon as well as a curse.
Thanks. Anita, you have, massive decades of experience in advertising. And when I speak with, old age brands, and I'm myself, we are ourselves investors in D2C, but I'm just right now on the other side of the table asking you a question that there was print, and then there was television, and then there was digital, and then there is a new age digital. I call it digital 1.0 and digital 2.0, as Chaitanya really mentioned. Digital 1.0 is more Google, Facebook, and digital 2.0 is more community building, etc. So the storytelling has moved. How brands who were very print focused used to tell their customers a different way of story. I saw brands adapting from print to television, but they weren't very adaptive to digital. And storytelling has been happening for a long time. Can you give me have you seen that shift happen because the medium shift happened, or the way the brands were telling the story or talking to a new age consumer was that different, or was it just the mediums different? Medium for retail and marketing both.
Manish, I think it's a combination of all the factors that you mentioned. As you clearly mentioned, that storytelling is nothing new, right? Brands have been telling stories over a period of time, and I think the communication medium for those stories to be conveyed to the consumers or the audiences have changed. And when we are talking about innovation and differentiation throughout, I think it's only logical for brands to really adapt to the mediums through which the storytelling, it continues to happen. Because finally, what differentiates a product from a brand? It's all about stories, right? What brands tell, and the stories emerge from consumer insights. So the fact is that if a brand was used to a newspaper and then to television or a radio to outdoors, and now the digital platforms, then it is very, very important.
Thanks so much, Niyashish, and good afternoon to everyone. It is my pleasure to be a part of this esteemed panel, and it's a very apt time for us to have this discussion, especially from our company's perspective, where we are launching Mazalo, a very, very unique platform. It is a gamified entertainment ecosystem, first of its kind, which is secured by blockchain. And in a unique manner, we are rewarding consumers for every single positive attribution on our platform, which is largely in terms of attention and time span. Blockchain, as you guys may know, ensures trust and transparency, and we are pretty gung-ho in terms of working on this across all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, namely, first of all, the users, which are really looking forward to platforms in terms of them giving their data privacy, something which they haven't enjoyed in the recent past as well across large global readers. Secondly, content producers, where we ensure that they get the right kind of IP monetization from a perspective of guaranteeing them copyrights on the platform. And thirdly, which is most important, the monetization aspect of it, which is the advertiser, our third stakeholder. They've been facing a lot of ad spend, ROI leakages when it comes to ad frauds. So combating ad frauds is something which our platform will ensure. So it's wonderful to be on this panel and really look forward to some interactive discussion here.
Yeah, thanks for that, Vikram. Thanks to all of you. So, that was helpful. It was a good introduction. And this is a question now for Rajesh and Karthik. As marketeers, what is the main outcome that you seek? Is it brand positioning, or is it product sales? the ideal situation is, of course, to have a balance of both. And in that sense, how do you feel the best balance can be achieved?
I can take a start,
Yeah, sure.
if you like. So I'll build on what Karthik said. I think, essentially, we are in a very interesting category, which is still in early stages of evolution. So both pieces are quite interesting. In general, there isn't a lack of demand. In fact, this category is growing about 3 digits every year. Our focus is channelizing demand, more than actually generating or rekindling it. But I think brand is really important in B2B. I mean, actually, I tend to think more than B2C because people are making much larger value decisions. The decisions are usually for keeps. People don't change every day, and company tends to be the brand. And I mean, and typically it's a very complex decision making. And if I was buying, something small like maybe a consumer good like a paste, toothpaste, I could change. But in technology, it's much harder. People put their careers at stake, so it's not as rational it seems. But a lot of it is a human and emotional decision, which is where brand comes in quite handy. And people tend to identify with the values of the organization, and people want to do business with organizations and brands where they see themselves aligned. So definitely, I think brand is a huge part of B2B overall. Definitely in our category at this point of time because it's still evolving and people are building those relationships and affinities. Now, having said that, I think the demand is a big part, and we have charter on us, like Karthik said. We are using so many technologies and every possible option we are testing and trying, how to channelize it meaningfully. And and what has happened is that, and I've seen evolve last few months, is that it's not limited to some clever advertising communication. At the end of the day, boils down to being authentic in terms of your brand. Somewhat live what your brand promises to be, and be very thoughtful about your demand. When people are struggling, like I said, for their employee safety or business continuity, last thing is they want is somebody doing some hard push salesy campaign or push them again and again. That's actually likely to alienate them. And I'll pass on to Karthik.
Yeah, no, I'll expand on Rajesh's bang on when he says this, right? It is a hot category, and in a hot category, I think we are seeing consumerization of B2B in some way, and especially within marketing, because you have a lot of interest in this category, a lot of highly qualified people are looking for solutions, and they are seeking solutions by function, by industry. So their search needs are very complex. Their problem statement is very complex, and they are putting their careers in line when they make a decision, because if it goes wrong, the price you pay for is your career growth, right? So I believe in this saying that when somebody is buying your product, they are buying a better version of themselves. They are not buying your product, right? They are buying a promotion, and that is a promise of promotion is what a large leading enterprise brands offer. But I think what I would reflect on is the skill sets that are changing within marketing, right? So earlier marketing was primarily driven by field marketing or product marketing, depending on whether you're sitting in the headquarter or in the region. But today, I think PR plays a big role. The concept of content creation and being very innovative about that plays a big role, because people want to see real solutions, right? They don't want to see what you did for a Fortune 500 company in some other territory. They want to see what you did for a company in their industry, in their territory, with their regulatory challenges within their function. So how do you stay relevant and how do you stay personalized is a big goal. And how do you enable very personal experiences, right? So when a CFO comes to your website, how do you show something that is relevant? Because if he's seeing the challenges of a CIO when a CFO comes to the website, you lost it. You lost the holy grail of personalization. So I think, how do you structure these customer journeys? How do you make them relevant? How do you do that with, again, innovative thinking, daily experimentation, and technology is now what we are focused on. So the skill set has become a lot more about not just about digital, right? But it's kind of putting together those micro journeys. So if somebody has a LinkedIn audience building skill set, and if somebody can do a good job with that, that is a lot more valued than somebody, let's say, have relationship with hotels or has a great creative design kind of a mindset, right? So the value in some of those micro journeys, if I can call it that way, right? So creating that is real now, and I think that is when a lot of that happens. I think that's when the CMO salary will catch up with the CTO salary. I'm just making it simplistic.
Yes, coming back to your last, the point you made, Karthik. So we have a CMO here, we also have a CEO here. So maybe at the end of it, we can just discuss the salary disparity. But I think you touched upon a good point about the emerging skill sets, right? And probably Vikram, I know the skill sets are changing, right? But Vikram, in your experience, what has been the key change in way, either whether it's about your approach or you see in the industry to marketing in the last 5 years? And while you speak, Vikram, I mean, I'll also request Rajesh and Karthik to also join in, because what you've seen as a change and probably what you also foresee, I think that's important.
Yeah. So, when you say last 5 years, to me, the last 5 months have seen such a large digital transformation. I would probably say that the cumulative change in the last 5 months has been much larger than the last 5 years. And this digital explosion, as a result of a lot of changes in the environment, has given to massive numbers, millions of users of digital natives, but at the same time have got traditionalists shifted on from offline mode to online mode. So this opens up really what we say is the world of possibilities. And from our end, I believe a three-pronged approach has given us massive learning curves in this aspect. Firstly, speed. So while we have the likes of AI, chatbots, and a lot of things and technology tools that help us, I must admit that consumer today is moving at the speed of light. And for any and every marketer, you have to be on your toes to even get near to the consumer. Secondly, there are tech stacks designed which can ensure personalization, which is the key. However, we must remember, and I'm sure Rajesh specifically maybe have a view on that, and Karthik as well. And I must admit personally, saying that the consumer is a human first. We can have all the technology and the AI tools there, but when we build personalization, we need to think human first, because there are emotional needs to be addressed, which a marketer must do. And thirdly, which according to me is the most important, is data privacy for consumers. There is no second chance, there is no mistake, whether it's a budding startup or a global leader. So largely these three are important perspectives from my end in how we see learning curves are built and how we see the approach to marketing should be kept in mind.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Vikram, for that. And I think very relevant what you said. You're right. The last 5 months or maybe a year has seen much more changes, transformation than probably the 5 years before that. Completely agree. But speaking on personalization, and that's something Rajesh and Karthi, you can step in because you are coming from a B2B marketing experience. How important is personalization in that space? And again, how have you seen the transformation in your segment, in your industry, in that segment in the last one year now? I'll probably curtail it from 5 years to 1 year. But how has that happened?
I can start and Rajesh can go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, no, I spoke a little bit about the role-based customer journeys, right? And I think when people, especially in the situation that we are facing of job security being a very paramount thing, people want to stick within their company. The concept of job security has become more important than ever. And you combine that with the earnest need to educate themselves, right? So today they are not just coming to buy, but they are coming to educate, they are coming to learn. And you need to kind of work within these two primary needs to kind of stitch together customer journeys, right? So I think that's where a lot of effort and investments have kind of gone in, whether it's we've invested heavily in areas like developer evangelism, helping customers learn about the product. So the learning journey is kind of more important than ever. So that is something that I definitely we continue to see. And within this personalization, so the personal needs kind of become very, very important for us. The second thing I want to kind of mention is also how the sales function is kind of evolving, right? Because sales and marketing, we are in this together, and then B2B, the sales function is also an important constituent or a customer for us. And the way they are engaging because of a lack of the personal touch. So the concept of this Rolodex wearing salesman has kind of gone through a change. Everybody is on Zoom or WebEx or whatever the technology is. So how do you enable the sales guys to do first calls better? How should they construct their deal journeys, right? So on the one hand, the customer journey is getting disrupted, the customer needs are getting disrupted. On the other hand, the sales, how they are engaging with customers are getting disrupted. So marketing kind of plays a balancing role between the two, enabling that, educating that, and kind of evolving that with technology. So that is something that I clearly see, which was not the case just a few months back.
Thanks, Karthik. Over to you, Rajesh.
Yeah, I think I'll pick up from what Karthik said. I think there are 2 or 3 trends that we've seen evolve over last whatever months. And I think our industry works in 6 monthly cycles. So planning is 6 monthly, marketing is 30-day cycle. So we are we are more prone to that time than anybody else. And I think the discussion of and you've seen those joke everywhere. What is causing digital transformation? CEO, CIO, or COVID? Is clearly COVID. And I think it has happened because, rather than being an add-on consideration, it has become the only consideration. It's also forcing customers to accept that as a way of engaging and, all constituents to do so, which I definitely think as things ease out will drive a significant adoption, which is more than before. So I think what I will say 2, 3 trends, one, I think the subscription economy has brought a fundamental mindset change from everything in marketing or demand creation, being leading up to a large deal to driving a successful customer experience. Because if you look at our industry, most people who are bought in early scale are probably using less than a 1% of what they can. So it really depends on what their experience is. So the potential for upsell, cross-sell is significant. So it's really important what happens after the sale, in many ways more than what happens before the sale. That I think is quite a fundamental change, not only in marketing, but also in overall sales and marketing balance of equation or power, if it were, in the organization. Second thing that has happened is somewhat democratization of technologies happen at 2 levels. First, like Karthik said, it's user driven. We are part of an industry which is talking of a low code or a no code movement where we are letting the subject matter expert do their technology and not go to another expert. It's going to gradually become like electricity or internet or any other utility where you'll be able to do what you need to do without going to expert. I mean, you may go when you need something extra, but usually not. And then the third thing, I think, irrespective of which vertical you are in, every business has become a technology business. So it is a CEO topic as well. So how does technology really make an impact on the business? That is changing a lot. So therefore, I would say the line of B2B, B2C in many ways is blurred. The basics of marketing and basics of business have come into play. How do you really add value? And how does it become tangible? And how do you provide them an experience that they want to repeat? And I will see, technology is being subservient to them. Sometimes we tend to put cart before the horse. I will do that. I mean, technology stacks and companies and providers keep changing. And I think, but at a higher level, I would say there are things which can be replicated, which usually come around scale or, doing more things quicker, faster at 24/7. I mean, I think human intelligence, I would rate, is still way, way higher than artificial intelligence. So one shouldn't mix up and put one before the other, which usually ends up providing that botched experience. That's my take on this.
Thanks for that, Rajesh. I mean, very interesting to know that, right? And I think it was leading me on to, the question that I had for you, and probably you've touched upon a bit of the challenges in your area. Look, we understand while you say, the line between the B2B marketing and B2C marketing is probably blurring. But, then typically a thought process on a B2B marketing versus a direct to marketing is very different, right? What you think and what you do. Specific to a B2B marketing, while you mentioned some of the challenges, I think it'd be interesting to understand how do you plan to use the emerging technologies to overcome that?
Yeah, I think there are two areas, where we are seeing technology coming. One, and we've seen this accelerate a lot more in the current crisis. There are a lot of smaller size businesses are coming up and they want to adopt new technologies. I mean, we have companies who've been traditionally selling edible oil or selling sleeping mattresses. They probably wouldn't think of work from home. This situation has forced them to think how to do things without manual handoff. Now, as they come to us, which means that, a long tail of businesses, SMEs is waking up. So how do we tackle it? So which is where your traditional all technologies, which are helping in funnel management, marketing automation, nurturing, qualification, and so on and so forth. All those are uh, quite useful for us. And a lot of those pieces now we are gradually applying our own technology, which is automation and AI, which is helping us do those much more smarter and connect that to the intelligence that is the data is showing us. The second area, which is the larger accounts, like I said, they have typically deployed less than a percentage of what they do. So it is growing in scope both horizontally and vertically, and it is gradually becoming a board topic because the whole idea of digital transformation has at least been around for a decade. But in the existing landscape of legacy technologies, it just requires too much of rip and replace. And the reality is that businesses, technology follows the business, not the other way around. But the new age of technology, which Karthik and I are part of, this works at a different layer. So it doesn't really matter what you have. It is non-invasive. It works and replicates action, like a human will do. So that's opening up a completely new area. And with these organizations, we are doing what is classically called account-based marketing. And a lot of the new digital technologies are coming in handy there to weave across different constituents of that account, different decision makers, across functions, across geographies, how you weave them together and have a unified narrative for them. And then how do you capture the demand signals and pull them together to see, what is emanating from there, and how do you work with that? So that's an area where there is a significant of technology, and it's still evolving. There are not a lot of companies playing in that space. So we're trying to work across them, and then also, again, how do we combine then with AI and automation we do to pull together a approach?
Thanks, Rajesh. Karthik, how about you? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I echo with Rajesh. The only thing I would add is when we look at this functionally, right? So if you just compare marketing automation with, let's say, finance automation or even a sales automation. Today, marketing automation, when people say marketing automation, some of the leading platforms is all about email marketing. They may do a little bit of digital ad placements, programmatic or whatever it is, but it's primarily email marketing, right? But if you look at the marketing function in itself, today, Rajesh's team or my team, we may be doing a lot of media buying like a traditional B2C company would. It may not be TV spots, but definitely print, definitely digital heavily. So how does true marketing automation look like, right? So can technology, if not doing somebody's job, can it predict things? Can it simulate? Can it process? So I think those are all challenges marketing automation has still not gone there. And I think today technology providers like a Google DoubleClick or an Adobe or any of these platforms, Marketo or any of these marketing automation platforms, they're all providing a point solution to a point problem. But the single integrated view of automation, unlike a finance automation, so if you look at a finance dashboard, right from your account receivable, account payable, all the way to a complex dashboard around your daily cash flow is automated. I think marketing, that single view that or a single system that automates everything is not there yet. So I think that's where Rajesh's company or my company, those are new use cases for us today. Only majority of the back-end functions are automated because they are repeatable. But if you look at the front-end functions like a sales or marketing, their automation extent is very low today. But I think that is happening today. People are making better pricing decisions. They're watching competition better. They are creating better nurture tracks with some of these automation technologies. But I think we are just getting started. So I think when that wave comes, right, automating the whole marketing operations stack, your whole reporting, your bets around which channel is working for you and things like that, I think there is a long way to go there.
Thanks, Karthik and Vikram. Just taking a cue from what Karthik and Rajesh said, right? For direct-to-consumer marketing, right? How differently do you think the emerging technologies will be used? And from an impact, do you think it'll have a higher impact on this direct-to-consumer versus a B2B probably? What are your thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. The consequences are far-reaching. If you look at the mantras in terms of what you would want to probably look at from a direct consumer marketing piece, is largely the 3 C's. The consumer, the content, and the commerce. I would put it simply in this form. But most importantly, technology is at the center of every human interaction when you look at these 3 C's. When you start looking at a lot of marketing or MarTech design stacks, they are typically stitched together by taking in technology built from various MarTech companies, various marketing products coming together, which are tailored to suit your specific need, but you need to stitch them intelligently to create what I may say is a specific consumer algorithm for your brand, which will eventually help you to do 2 things. One is connect to communities, which is really building reach in a very, very simple language, but at the same time, communicate with the consumers, which is really an audience of one. You have to communicate in a unique manner with technology to every single individual. And that to me is the real key when it comes to direct to consumer marketing.
Thanks, Vikram. And probably just one last question for you, Vikram, here. And I know we have a few audience questions after this, which we need to also answer. So successful consumer-centric marketing campaigns, also tend to draw potential fraudsters, misuse of, promotional offers, campaigns. How important do you think a mobile number-based validation service is effective to ensuring, using that technology to prevent fraudsters from misusing it or, filtering out fraudsters in the campaigns?
Yeah, so in our case, our platform is built on blockchain, which ensures trust, transparency, data privacy. But most important part over here is we are offering consumers rewards for watching free premium content. And these rewards can be redeemed for exciting prizes, exclusive offers, etc. So it is a very, very important piece for us when it comes to mobile numbers. They serve as unique identifiers for these unique users. We have to ensure that there are no fraudsters that can make any kind of misuse because our business model is built on that. And hence, mobile numbers are very, very important and a key ingredient for our user profile and user journey as well.
Thank you, everyone. All the points were very insightful. We are running a little short on time, but there are a few good audience questions actually that we should have some time to answer. And I like this one. So there's a question which asks how to reach the rural population where technology is not so common. Who would like to go for that?
I can take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I think Rajesh said it pretty well, saying technology should follow business and business can't follow technology. So let's not say that how will technology take us? There are many, many case studies, and I think Unilever has done that in parts, of Bihar, Uttarakhand, etc. And this is just an example that I'm giving you guys. of saying that if there are feature phones and not smartphones, how do we build reach over there to consumers through internet radio? So there are various mechanisms and various case studies of how one can get to rural. There are reach mechanisms which are existing across various parts. I would say don't just use technology in pure tech terms, but use it more for interactivity. And then there is a wide world to communicate with in terms of pan-India reach.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is I've been watching this company Zoho, right, on the B2B SaaS side, and they've made it a point not only to go rural in terms of their business, but also set up their delivery center or set up their second headquarters in Tenkasi in South Tamil Nadu. And the CEO famously took a NASCOM session with the NASCOM president from this truck that is standing in front of his small house in the farm there. So he speaks a lot about how to enable citizens in the rural community, and they do a lot of tier 2, tier 3 regional media, advertising, regional media, PR, etc. So again, a lot of companies are taking it as a mission to enable rural India, right? And some of the things he was saying was when he looks at hiring talent from rural India, they are all learning from Khan Academy, and you will not really think of that as the case. But I think this 4G and being identified with rural India as you market to rural India, right, is something that I learned from Zoho. Really fascinating what they do.
Okay, so we have few more, and we're running against time, but let me touch upon this. And Rajesh, probably I'll ask you this, right? Do you see a large part of marketing decisions in the new future will be replaced by AI?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I always think, like I said, human intelligence is too large and too complex, and AI is still scratching the surface. I mean, beyond science fiction and movies, that is. I mean, a typical case, we deploy AI, for example, when we do automation of expense statements to figure out to read handwritten bills, to figure out which amount is tip, which amount is the bill, which is a hotel bill, which is a cab bill, which is obviously intelligent. But as humans, we never think of that as a very intelligent work. So I think it's always going to be helping us make smarter decisions and take care of the large operational load, therefore freeing human endeavor from the mundane and making time for the creative and the empathetic work that we most enjoy doing, we were designed to do. That somewhere the day-to-day mundane routine stuff took over. I mean, you look at the typical day, 80% of the 80% can be mundane work which nobody enjoys. Actually, people hate. That's why we're seeing when people are deploying AI or RPA in government scenarios, they are happy because they are tired of pushing paper and electronic form, which is not the same thing every time. So I think it's very handy, very useful, but no substitute for human.
Okay, so I think we'll have time for a couple of more questions. So this is an interesting question again, which is what are the challenges faced in acclimatizing various levels of an organization to new technology? How do you ensure that move is smooth? And Karthik, I'll ask this to you because I know you did mention about CEOs not directly setting KPIs for CMOs directly, which I think in a sense also talks about pretty much this question, right? How do you drive this technology within the organization?
No, I think one of the things I do is monitor SaaS ecosystem and the SaaS startups, right? So today, technology adoption, app adoption also is a very hot space within the SaaS ecosystem. There are many ideas and many startups that are coming in to solve this. So when you introduce a new technology, I guess that's the question, right? How do you make it successful? How do you ensure that
drive it within the different levels of organization, right? So
yes. No, I remember during SAP days, Rajesh knows this better. There is this whole concept of go live, celebrating it, and again ensuring that there is like a business stakeholder committee and all that stuff. So those were the days. But I think today technology is introduced so fast, and it fails so fast that the users don't adopt, and users also bring technology with their handphones. Today, there exists digital adoption platforms. There's a company called WhatFix that is disrupting this space. And there's multiple innovations around how do you make the user experience and how do you measure things constantly and hack things around that, right? So I think especially within marketing, let's say when marketing introduces a new technology, it could be a new email system, it could be a new digital system, it could be a script that you want your employees to follow. It could be a chat system. So there are many systems marketing could introduce. But where the technology fails is when there is a user experience, when it's easy for the user to adopt it without disrupting their daily needs, right? So that's where marketing needs to understand the internal pulse, if I have to say that way, and constantly experiment to see, like an engineering organization will do, constantly experiment to see why people are adopting, why people are not adopting, and keep that daily cadence floating around.
Thanks, Karthik. So unfortunately we've run out of time. There were a few more questions which we will probably not be able to answer today. But I'd like to take this opportunity to thank three of you for taking time out. IMAI for this session, and also would like to thank all the guests who joined us for this session. I do hope you found it useful. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks to you, Snehasis, for moderating, and thanks, Shrishti,
Thank you
for
so much.
coordinating. Thanks, Rajesh.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, audience, and thanks, IMAI.
Thank you, speakers, for an amazing discussion. Thank you to our moderator, Mr. Khan, for keeping the discussion relevant, significant, and so exciting. Dear audience, please take some time out and visit our exhibitors and check their offerings. Thank you to our partners Z5, Telesign, ShareChat,